Welcome everyone. I think we're just waiting for some more people to jump on. Just in the chat, if anyone can just put a quick make sure that everyone can hear me. Just put a yes or something in the chat. I can see some. Okay, that's good. Woohoo! All right, I'll get started. So I saw someone just raise their hand or something, but we'll have Q&A at the end as well, or maybe that's just a thumbs up, so that's okay. All right, so let's get started. So first of all, my name's Michael, so I'm one Christy. I can see you raising your hand there. My name's Michael. I'm one of the accountants here at TaxLeopard. So today we're going to be talking about tax, right? So obviously there's a lot of dashes on this webinar, but we're going to be talking about how to maximize your earnings as a dasher with some expert tax tips and support. So I can still see, I'm just waiting. There's still a few more jumping on, but that's okay. Okay. Okay, so some of the topics that we're going to discuss on today's webinar is, first of all, TaxLeopard has a partnership with DoorDash to assist dashers to run their own business and manage all their taxes, all that dreadful stuff you don't want to worry about. We'll also just quickly be touching whether you need an ABN or an Australian business number, and whether you do need to register for goods and services tax. So I don't know if many of you have heard about that or have read about that, but we'll just quickly discuss that, some of the rules around that. We'll also be going into the more exciting stuff, which is some of the tax deductions that are available for dashers to maximize your return at the end of the financial year. And understanding some of your tax obligations. So when it's coming up to tax time, from the 1st of July, that's when people start thinking about their year-end tax. We've also got an exclusive offer at the end for all our dashers. So we'll discuss that. And at the end, we'll just follow it with a quick Q&A session where you can ask any questions. Should be able to answer it on the spot. Just if it is a little bit more technical, perhaps we can take it after the webinar and we can have a separate discussion. But we should be able to, I should be able to answer most of the questions on the spot. So who is TaxLeopard? So don't know how many are familiar or have signed up to the TaxLeopard app on this webinar, but we are basically an all-in-one software accounting platform. So you, as a dasher, you can manage your business, which is important because you're a business owner. So you can do all your bookkeeping. If some people may run another business, they may need to prepare some invoices and stuff like that. We have a logbook, and at the back of it, we've got accountants, right, where we can prepare your ABN GST registration. We can prepare all your, if you do need to lodge a BAS, we'll discuss that, and all your taxes as well, right? So it's an all-in-one platform where you've got all your records as a dasher, and then you've got the compliance side where you've got accountants to prepare and lodge everything as well. So if you haven't signed up, sign up now. Okay, so as a dasher, do I need an Australian business number? Look, I'm guessing a lot of the attendees on this webinar already have an ABN. But look, what is an ABN? Basically, when you're a contractor or you work, basically you're your own boss. So to get started, you would have noticed DoorDash, you would have submitted or needed to register an ABN. That's just a unique 11-digit number that the ATO need for you to register your business, right? So you can declare all your income and expenses. So I'll just touch up on this. I won't spend, but TaxLeopard, obviously the TaxLeopard and DoorDash partnership, we're providing these ABN registrations and GST if required. We can do that at no cost. So feel free to tell your friends if you've already got an ABN, and then maybe some of your friends are thinking about dashing, we can provide that as well. So at no cost. So, okay. So the more important, so not sure if you've heard about goods and services tax. You probably have. But big question that we get is, do I need to register for GST, right? So what does that mean? If you're registered for GST, it's just a separate tax. Effectively, you need to lodge a quarterly business activity statement every quarter that records all your income and expenses. So that's all it is. So, but the rules around it is really simple, and we've designed this like simple table here, right? So if you only do food delivery only, right, which I'm guessing most people on this webinar would fall into that category, and you're earning under 75K. So under 75K means actual income as a sole trader. So it doesn't include your income from you being an employee. So this is just from your business. So most from what I've seen is most fall under this category, right? They're earning under 75K and they're doing food delivery only. So GST registration basically is not required. The only exception with that is if you're earning over 75K, then and you're doing food delivery, then yes, everyone needs to be registered for GST. It doesn't matter what. If you're only doing food delivery, if you're a contractor earning over 75K on your income, you must register for GST. So the only exception to the rule is if you do food delivery and rideshare driving, then it doesn't really matter whether you're earning under 75K or over, you must be registered for GST. So that's the exception. The ATO brought that in back in 2016. It applies mainly because you're doing rideshare driving. So I don't know how many attendees on this call are doing both of that, but that's the exception to that rule, effectively. So, okay, so let's move into the more fun stuff. So, tax deductions for dashes, right? So, it's super important to understand the required records for dashes. So, keeping track of all your receipts and invoice for your business and income as well. And also utilizing your bank statements as well if you don't have a copy of the receipt or invoice, right? So now, if you're not registered for GST, most dashes will be in this category. A receipt or invoice or bank statement is sufficient enough for your records. Generally, it's always good to keep a receipt or an invoice, but if you don't have access to that, you can utilize your bank statement. That's if you're not GST registered. So if you are GST registered, which I'd say this doesn't apply to as many dashes, but the rules are a little bit different. Any expense over $82.50, which is not a lot, it does require an official tax invoice. But any expense under that amount, a receipt or bank record will suffice. So it doesn't really give you much leeway, but just the TaxLeopard can obviously app. We do have like a banking integration as well, so it can effectively assist you with all this daunting record keeping, I guess. So this is generally what we see. So the big one is vehicle expenses, right? So when we say vehicle, we're saying we're including, you might use a car for your delivery, you might use a a motorcycle, bicycle, e-bike, or scooter, right? So similar sort of rules apply. Obviously, that's what we mean by motor vehicle. It includes all these things here, right? So, and this is just the generalization, but you've got fuel and oil, which also an e-bike or something like that, you might be able to claim that version of fuel and oil would be electricity, as an example. Any sort of registrations and insurance, any repairs and maintenance to the vehicle, cleaning costs, I guess. This one is a bit daunting, but usually your accountant will know how to calculate this, the depreciation of these vehicles. So depending on the cost of it, there's various depreciation rules. Any interest on any loans as well, any rental or lease payments you may make as well, as long as any parking fees that you may incur while you're delivering as well, and any road tolls as well is generally the main ones we see as deductibility for vehicle expenses. So other work-related expenses, which are quite common for a dasher, is claiming all your mobile phone costs and data plans as well, which is like your internet. Generally, it's bundled in there, but a proportion, you can only claim a proportion that's used for work. Generally, the way you would sort of calculate that is I think it's about 4 weeks. You keep like a diary record of all your, and you sort of calculate, okay, I used it maybe 80%, during that 4 weeks for business purposes. So you'd claim 80% of your mobile and data costs, right? So then you've got sort of your delivery bags or thermal bags that you may use for your deliveries. Any sort of uniform or protective clothing if required and not provided. So that's generally another thing you can claim. And also any sunglasses and hats used for like sun protection and stuff like that while working. So then you've got also your admin expenses. So any accounting and tax agent fees are tax deductible. Any stationery that you may use, pens, paper, all that stuff. And last of all, also any software or apps that you may use for managing your delivery work, including the TaxLeopard app. And then just last of all, you've got any sort of bank fees where your income or where your income is deposited, that can be tax deductible as well as any training courses that are related to improving delivery efficiency or skills as well. So okay, so the other one that a lot of the questions that we also get is, well, what those are some of the expenses that I can claim as a dasher. What can't I claim, right? So keyword can't. So any sort of personal use of your motor vehicle. So when calculating all your what we discussed earlier with all, if you're using a car, motorcycle, so any sort of private use for that purchase, you can't claim that as a tax deduction. So same with any personal use on your phone. You generally can't claim that. Personal clothing as well. So this is regular clothing that you may just work while you're doing your deliveries, I guess, as a dasher. That's generally not deductible. So this is just your plain clothing. It generally has to have like a logo attached to it. So I'm reasonably certain that DoorDash don't have that, where you have to wear particular clothing or uniforms and stuff like that. But protective clothing is fine, anything that you utilize during your shift. So sorry to say, but any fines and penalties, unfortunately, that if you receive while you're working on your shift, any sort of parking fines, traffic fines, unfortunately, it's not tax deductible. So same with meals and drinks. So a lot of people get confused with this. So generally they're working on doing their deliveries and they're having their meals and stuff in between. That's not tax deductible, unfortunately. So and a lot of home office expenses, I'm gonna add this because generally speaking, as a delivery driver, you're generally not working from an office, right? So it's not to say that you can't claim it at all, but generally it's not an expense that you usually claim. And last of all is any sort of commuting costs. So any sort of travel from home to your first delivery, um, or your last delivery back home is generally not tax deductible. So the only exception I might add to that is if you may turn on the app, the DoorDash, it'd be the driver app, I guess. The only exception is you might turn it on and you might get a job straight away and you might deliver from, say you're at home, then that would kind of, but if you're traveling to, say, it could be somewhere central towards the city, generally from home to that location, is generally not tax deductible. Okay. So next we're going to talk about maximizing your deductions. And by maximizing your deductions, you can keep a lot more of your earnings, right? So the simple formula for any sort of tax that you pay, right? So you've got your income, say from your DoorDash business, less all your expenses, right? So if you can maximize your deduction, so it's income less all your expenses. If your income is high, it's going to leave you with a bit of a profit. Any sort of profit on that, you've got to pay tax on that, right? So if your expenses are obviously higher, you're obviously not going to pay any tax on it. But then, you know, if your expenses are far too high, then you're not really making any money as well. So, but the idea is you want to maximize your deductions to reduce any sort of tax payable, right? So, so some of the more common methods that we actually get a lot of questions on is this is for all your vehicle costs, right? So and it also includes any sort of like we discussed earlier, you know, scooters, e-bikes, and all that stuff that you may use. But a good method that we tend to use a lot, or you may have heard, is the logbook method, right? So look, generally speaking, it's used for a car or motor vehicle, but that's not to say if you've got other vehicles like that, you can't use that method, right? I'll explain a little bit further, but effectively, it's a little bit more tedious because you basically have to record a 12-week period of all your business kilometers, and at the end of it, so you're recording your odometer for a period of 12 weeks, 12 consecutive weeks. And at the end of it, you want to know, like, based on all your business kilometers. So I'll give you an example. It's probably the easiest. So let's just say you did, for that period of 12 weeks, I'm just throwing a figure here, but let's say you did 10,000 kilometers and 8,000 kilometers of those were used for business. Well, that would give you a percentage of 80%. So anything like fuel, maintenance, insurance, registration, depreciation, and loan interest, you can claim 80% of those motor vehicle costs, right? So, and the good thing is you only do it for 12 weeks and it's valid for 5 years, right? So, which is good. So you don't have to sit there doing one every year. Um, some of the pros and cons, like the biggest pros are definitely you will get usually a much more higher deduction, which can reduce all your income tax payable, as we discussed. And some of the cons, I guess it's a little bit more complex and a little bit more detailed records, right? Because you have to keep all those records, but it's only for 12 weeks, right? As we discussed. So the other method is that generally, again, this is just the generalization. If you're driving any of these sort of vehicles, is you can use the cents per kilometer method. So the way the ATO basically work this out is you keep a diary of all your kilometers and you claim up to 78 cents per kilometer, right? So the limit with this is you can only claim 5,000 kilometers, right? So, so the maximum you can actually claim, let's say you did 5,000 kilometers, you can only claim 5,000 times 78 cents. I think it works out to 3,900 or something like that. So that's the maximum, but that's all you're entitled to, right? So if you've got a lot of income, it's not, you can see quite quickly that you'll be able to claim a lot using the logbook method, as we discussed earlier, right? So I guess the pros of this, it's simple to calculate. It just requires a diary, keeping track of some of your kilometers. So you still do need to have some sort of record. So the convenience, you don't have to track individual expenses relating to your vehicle that you use. And like we said, it's only capped to 5,000 kilometers. But look, and in the TaxLeopard app, we have a logbook. So we're big on, you're better off, as to give you more options, you're better off starting a logbook, right? And at worst case scenario, you end up utilizing this method here, which is the cents per kilometer. But at least it gives you, just by keeping the logbook, it gives you both methods that you can use, right? And usually the logbook method is 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a better deduction on your on your motor vehicle that you're using, right? So okay, so some of the so now we're going to be talking about getting ready for tax time as a dasher, right? So generally speaking, everyone needs to lodge a tax return come 30th of June. So the financial year ends from starts the 1st of July and ends the 30th of June, right? So that's the financial year here in Australia, and that's what the ATO have deemed that. So basically, it does require. So this is some things that you need to consider when you're starting to think about tax time and what you need to start preparing, right? So any sort of employment income. So you may also work as a dasher, but you may work for an employer, right? And you pay PAYG. So that we do tend to have a lot of that. So you'll have so that's separate, that income, to your DoorDash income, right? So it's keeping track of that. Generally, that's a lot easier because the employer will provide that, whereas your income as a dasher, you'll need to get everything in order, right, and keep all your records and stuff like that. So so keeping detailed records of all your expenses to obviously maximize all your deductions, and the goal is you want to pay as little as tax as possible, right, legally. So keeping track of all that, understanding deductions, type of employment deductions that you can claim, as well as delivery deductions. If depending on what you're using, whether it's a car, motorcycle, bicycle, or e-bike, it's just something to keep track of. So then it's good to also have a separate bank account, is what we always recommend. Keep all your business stuff as a dasher. You want that separate. You want a separate bank account for your business, and all your personal stuff, have your personal accounts for that. It's just so much easier for record keeping purposes as well, right? So depending on how you're using or how you're categorizing all your expenses, you may want to use some apps or spreadsheets. Again, we can utilize the TaxLeopard app, much easier than a spreadsheet. So, and then understanding, as we discussed, the appropriate methods, right, that you can claim using the logbook method, as discussed earlier, or the cents per kilometer. And then finally, just in preparation for your tax return, all your income needs to be reported, all your expenses. This one I just put in there as well. It's just if you do need to lodge BAS lodgements if you are GST registered. So just something to keep in mind. Look, it's for the I've seen a lot of self-employed individuals try and tackle a lot of questions themselves. So it's a good idea to consult an expert or someone like an accountant. As you can see, it gets quite complex, right? So quite quickly, there's a lot to sort of take on, as you can see from even just this webinar. But it's good to get that expert advice from an accountant. You know, if they're good, they'll you know, the small fee that you end up paying will be worth the tax that you've saved at the end of the day, right? So, and then it's about staying organized as well, all your record keeping, and you know, any sort of regular updates and stuff like that. So the good thing is with TaxLeopard, because you've got that option where we've got a banking integration. We've got you can upload all your invoices and receipts and stuff like that. And then you've got accountants at the end of it, right? They can process all this. So it takes a lot of that pain away, right? Because there are a lot of obligations, right? The ATO don't make this simple, especially to someone that's not as familiar with tax. So there are, but I guess, yeah, TaxLeopard can pretty much all the stuff that we've discussed here can assist with that as well, right? So so I like this one. You can focus making on more money as a dasher without worrying about all the tax stuff. Leave that to us. So, and look, just quickly as well. So the deadline for the tax return is due on the 31st of October each year. The only exception is if you are with a registered tax agent, you tend to your deadline is increased to either the 31st of March to the 15th of May, which is the following year. But you do also need to be on their ATO portal. So this wouldn't apply for if you're a new client for a tax agent and stuff like that. So, but general rule of thumb is 31st of October. Also, just avoiding some common tax mistakes that we see on a lot of when preparing to lodge your tax return. Again, I keep stressing about it, but not keeping accurate records. And I'll say this again, but mixing your personal and business expenses, right? So having multiple accounts, you can easily lose track of what all your deductions and stuff like that, right? So good to keep the separate bank account as suggested with all your business expenses, right? So missing out on any deductions as well, you know, you end up paying too much tax, hence the importance of consulting with a tax professional. And then, you know, the incorrectly calculating your vehicle expenses, right? Understanding the logbook method versus cents per kilometer, and being able to apply that depending on the vehicle that you use for your delivery work, right? So also forgetting to report all income and also missing tax deadlines, not lodging a tax return on time, the ATO can issue penalties and interest as well. So, okay. So one of the final things that I wanted to touch on is that there may be, if you're a foreign or temporary resident, do I need to lodge a tax return, right? So residency can be quite a complex area of law. So, but this is more of a general overview. Generally speaking, yes, if you're a foreign resident or temporary resident in Australia, you generally do need to lodge a tax return, right? So this includes, so what are some of the key conditions, right? You earned income in Australia, right? So if you worked in Australia and earned income, you're required to lodge a tax return, okay? This includes any wages, salary, or any other income from work, right? So any other income could be from your DoorDash income as well, right? So, and also if you paid some tax in Australia if you're an employee, as well as doing, you could be a DoorDash delivery site, it could be your side hustle, but you may be an employee as well. Generally, that employer will take out some PAYG withholding. And obviously, if you are leaving Australia, if you're a temporary resident leaving Australia permanently, you may need to lodge a final tax return before you leave as well, right? So again, it's a very complex area as well. So, but these are the sort of types of income that you may need to report. So again, salary and wages or any other income. If you have any interest on your bank accounts, dividends and stuff like that, rental income from Australian sources as well. And any other income as discussed from Australia, such as if you were self-employed as a dasher, you would need to lodge a tax return if you're a foreign or temporary resident, right? So this, I won't touch on too much on this, but it's just taxed a little bit differently depending on if you fit, which category you fit into. But yeah, this is, it's probably getting a little bit more, it's just the way depending on if you're a temporary resident or foreign resident, you're taxed a little bit differently, right? So that's the main thing. So we can also determine where you sort of sit with that. So look, as discussed, just it can be a tricky area of law as well, right? So so the best approach is, contact us if you need to reach out, if you're not sure of your position, not sure where you sit on it. Like I said, in most cases, you do need to lodge some sort of tax return, but reach out to us. We'll be happy to assist. So, okay. So the last thing I just wanted to touch, so just for joining the webinar, we do have an exclusive offer for dashers on our tax services. So you can see this lovely guy is giving us when you lodge here, you've got your lodge your annual tax return. You'll enter the code Dasher60. So normally our price is $179. You'll get $60 off. So what's that? $119. So to lodge your tax return. So remember that code. We'll probably send out something after this webinar as well. But you can claim that and get $60 off your tax return, which is exciting. And just our steps, this is our process on how to lodge it. Again, I won't spend too much time on this, but you basically complete and submit the form in the TaxLeopard app. Our accountants will receive it. We will then draft your tax return to maximize the deductions. We'll reach out. Step 3 is once we've drafted your tax return, we'll contact you if we feel like there's something missing or we've got more questions. But it's usually because something's missing and we want to maximize your tax return, so you're paying as little as tax possible to the ATO legally. So, and then finally, we'll head over to some Q&A. So what we'll do is in Zoom, you should be able to see our Q&A section. I think some people have already asked. Okay, so okay, so first one, where will you upload this video? Good question. I think we're going to send a copy of this, and I'll have to check with our marketing team, but I'm pretty sure we're going to send the copy. I'm not sure if it was going to be also put on the DoorDash website as well. Look, either way, you'll receive some form of communication after this for all the webinar attendees and stuff like that. So we can we'll either send you a copy via email after this. Yeah, either way, you'll have something to have after this session. So okay. Okay. So I've got Jignesh, I think it is. So how much does the app cost? So with the app, it starts at $11.99 a month. So you can get a free 30-day trial. So there's no obligation to continue using the app after that. But we've got an essential plan effectively. We've got two different plans. So one starts at $11.99 a month, or I think it's 110 annual. But it includes all your banking integration. So you can link all your bank accounts. If you need to provide invoices, there's that as well. You can send all your invoices out. I've got a logbook as well. So there's a lot of features on the app. So we know we're very competitive. There's a lot of other software that charge, a lot more than that. And then we have the other plan, which is $24.99 a month. So, but that also includes any sort of accountant support as well, right? So you can ask questions throughout the year via a ticketing system that we use. And so they're the main two options. But look, there's no obligation. I would recommend starting off with a 30-day free trial, test it out, see if you're happy with it, see if you like it as well. I hope you do. So, okay. Okay, so this is, I'm just trying to read this one. So I'm just trying to, so this one, so someone's a full-time dasher. Okay, so 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. It's a long shift. I mostly use my data for DoorDash delivery. When I reached home, I use my Wi-Fi. Can I use my Optus monthly bill as a receipt? So generally speaking, you can. It's definitely something you can use, but it would relate more to your mobile phone. So, like I said, most to do the deliveries and stuff like that, you would need a phone with some internet data, right? So, not to say that you can't claim any internet costs from home, but that would kind of relate to your home office expense as well. So, if you're preparing anything and stuff like that, that you may need to prepare for your shift and stuff like that. Technically you can, but then again, how much you can claim, I would sort of question that, right? Because it may be very low, right? So yes, you can is the short answer. I would focus more on your mobile phone plans because that's what you're actually using when you're doing a lot of your deliveries and stuff like that. So hope that makes sense. Okay. So that's a good question. I've got Raymond here, Raymond Kays. So does the app also cover other sources of income, specifically capital gains from share market and or formal employment? So let's start with formal employment. Yes. So the TaxLeopard app, when you're lodging your tax return, I'm assuming, Raymond, you because that would relate to more your tax return stuff. So the shorter answer is yes. It does. So any type of income, the TaxLeopard app would cover, right? So anything from if you're an employee, your DoorDash delivery income and expenses, that's separate to your employee income. And also, like you said, your capital gains. Yes, we do have, you can submit it. We've got a section when you complete the tax return, you can upload any sort of capital gains and stuff like that you may have had. So, and our accountants can prepare that for you. So cryptocurrency is another one that we commonly have. Obviously there's also rental properties. If you do have a rental property, so we include basically everything is included in our pricing for the tax returns, right? We're not going to say So we're just got a flat price, and it covers any income you have. So, which is good. So, because I know a lot of accountants will charge separately depending on the amount of stuff that you've got in the return. So that's quite common. So hope that answers your question, Raymond. Okay. So, and then just someone else said, okay, I'll start from the top. Do you guys offer traditional accounting services as well? Well, we're an online platform, right? So you do have real accountants in the background. We'll respond via, like I said, we've got a ticketing system that we use. But I've seen traditional accounting services as well, and sometimes you don't even get a response from the accountant, right? So or they're very slow to respond. We do everything online. We streamline it, and also by doing that, we're also able to keep our costs low, right? So I know some accountants that charge a lot more than we charge, even 400-500 plus a tax return is not unusual. So this is also how we're able to streamline it. And not only that, we specialize in this as well, right? So we specialize in all types of gig work, including DoorDash. We obviously do a lot of Uber drivers as well, and other professions, but gig sort of work is our specialty. We seem to do a lot of work for gig workers. So okay. All right, so next one. Hello, I came a bit late. Yes, you will be sent a copy. Will most likely be an email, like I said. And I think we'll have to check with our marketing team, but you will, if you've registered for this webinar, we'll send out a copy of this webinar as well, so you can refer back to. Okay. So, Havuvi, I think it is. Do I need to register with my bank as a personal account or business account? So, okay, so that's a good question. So, when I say business accounts, it doesn't necessarily mean you need to go to the bank and say, "Hey, I'm starting a business. I need a business account," right? It can be a personal account because it's in your personal name. But I guess what I'm saying there is keep your business expenses in that one account, right? Don't mix your personal and business expenses. It's just so much easier for record keeping, to just keep that separate, right? So the short answer is no, you don't need to register like a business account with the bank. It can just be a personal account, but just keep your business and personal separate. So that's what I recommend. Okay. So what if you have not been keeping records? Still too late to claim maximum tax return. So good question, Ritesh. So yeah, so because a lot of people can be a little bit more reactive. Look, the good news is it's not too late. My suggestion would be when you say keeping records, it would if you're obviously your like receipts and stuff like that, you can obviously gather that anything like your phone expenses, fuel and all that stuff, right? It may be mixed up, but you can get all that. The big one that I see is, if you're going to claim the logbook method, you need to start a logbook as long as you've started the logbook before the 30th of June. So you've got, what's today's date? The 25th. So you've got 5 days. So to start it, my suggestion is start that if you're planning on claiming that as well, because then you can maximize a lot of your deductions as well. So as long as you started the logbook, you can still claim it in this financial year. So sign up to TaxLeopard, Ritesh. Okay. Do you have a logbook sample for Dasha? My suggestion is Just jump on the TaxLeopard app. Like I said, you've got a free 30-day trial. Give it a crack, have a shot. If you're not happy with it or whatever, you don't. There's no obligation. But no, I don't think we've got a sample logbook. Just yeah, my suggestion is jump on the TaxLeopard app, give it a try. You'll see that it's really user friendly and stuff like that. So. Okay. Another one with a logbook. What does a logbook look like? Is it a Word document? I have tracked my earnings and petrol expenses with odometer readings. So what is a logbooks? My suggestion is have a little bit of a Google as well, right? You'll be able to get a pretty good indication of what a logbook looks like. But some people may record it on a spreadsheet. So it's just literally recording your start odometer and your end odometer and whether that trip was used for your work, being delivery, or was it used for personal, right? So, and you only need to do that for 12 weeks, right? So, again, that's anonymous. My suggestion is jump on the TaxLeopard app. It'll give you a pretty good indication of what a logbook looks like. But even just Google and stuff like that, you can quickly get a pretty good understanding. But yes, that's great that you've actually tracked all your earnings and petrol expenses with odometer readings. That's great. So potentially you could use that, depending. I'm assuming you may have used a spreadsheet or something. I'm guessing here. Doesn't say that, but yeah, that could be sufficient enough for the ATO as well. So just bear that in mind. Okay. I don't know if this one's more. Do you guys offer traditional accounting services? Also, I can understand that yeah. When we've got another one here. So do you guys offer traditional accounting services? Also, I can understand that I retroactively input all my tax info for the past year, right? Um, yes, that's effectively. So if you're signing up today, we will need all your info and stuff like that in the TaxLeopard app. But yeah, so with the like I said, we're an online accounting service. We're not your traditional accountant. Everything is done. So you submit all your details on our platform. An accountant will then draft it. And then we'll contact you as well, right? Before it's lodged. We won't just go ahead and lodge it. We're going to get you the best result before it's lodged with the ATO. So hopefully that makes sense. What about people who dash just as a side hustle? Good question. And have a full-time job. Would you help lodge tax return for people like me that with a discount? So Ravati, it's Ravati Patani. I probably should be reading the name first, but yes. So we'll share some notes on the webinar after this. But yes, so yes, everyone on this webinar has $60 off their tax return. Just enter the code DASHA60 at checkout, and you will receive. So yes, that applies to you as well, Ravati. Okay, so a few more. Okay, so Theodora, I think it is. Does DoorDash income include GST? So the short of it is yes, it does. However, you don't need to worry about that as a self-employed individual. If your ABN, this comes down to if you're GST registered or not. So you wouldn't need to worry about it because you're not going to need to lodge a GST return. The only thing that's different is whatever income that you receive, that is declared on your tax return, right? So it comes down to whether you need to lodge a BAS and if your ABN is registered for GST. So it really won't make a difference. Theodora, it's only going to make a difference if you need to be registered for GST and you need to lodge a BAS. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Okay. So another one that's from Havuvi. I think this is a similar question what I just answered. Does DoorDash payments include GST that we get paid quickly? So that's similar to what I said with the previous question. So the short of answer is yes, it does, but it does come down to if you don't need to worry about it if you're not registered, if your ABN is not registered for GST. So it's the only time that makes a difference is if you need to lodge a BAS, like I said. So, but the short of it is yes, if you're not registered for GST, you really don't need to worry about it. Okay, so Andrew, if doing the logbook method, do you include car maintenance even if it happened out on the side of a 12-week period? E.g., car service only every 6 months and does not fall within the 12-week period. So look, the main thing, Andrew, is when you're keeping a logbook, right? So it doesn't matter when if for example, let's say you did a 12-week logbook today, right? And you had previous expenses, I'm assuming is what you're saying. If it falls in the financial year, then you can utilize that logbook for all your expenses, right? That relate to it. Hope that makes sense. But the idea is you just need to keep a logbook, right, for a period of 12 weeks, work out how much you use your car for business purposes, and then you can apply the logbook method with all your motor vehicle costs, fuel, registration, insurance, depreciation, all that stuff, right? So I wouldn't worry too much when I'd just worry about, okay, I need to complete a logbook, then I can claim all my expenses as well, right? Because you're under the logbook method and apply it properly. Hopefully that makes sense. What I've just discussed. Are clothes against cold weather deductible when being an e-bike dasher? So, for example, gloves, balaclavas, jackets, or in another case, clothes against rain. So, look, I'd probably, so gloves, absolutely. Jackets, you could potentially look if it's like waterproof jacket, that could be tax deductible. I'd probably just, yeah, there can be some a little bit gray areas, but look, anything that's going to effectively be utilized as protective clothing. So in other words, it could even be like a visi, what do they call them? Those so you can stand out in the dark and stuff like that. That would be, safety sort of protection. It can be a little bit of but just general sort of everyday clothes. If you're just wearing casual clothes, then no. So look, the best thing also is um, uh, just reach out to us. We can have a look at that as well. And even when lodging a tax return, even if you include all this stuff, we can also make a deduction on. We can also make a we can also look into it and see what is and is not deductible. So, okay, so we're getting a lot of questions here. Okay. So if income is below 15,000, do I have to pay tax? Generally, no, but there could be issues if you're a resident or non-resident as well. So just something to keep in mind, but generally speaking, no, if you're a resident in Australia. So, well, sorry, I'm not reading some of the names, but does it allow you to upload receipts? One from Renee, I think it is. Yes, it does. That's a simple answer. Okay. Okay, I've got one from Hikaru. Is driving back to hot zone while dashing, but without any others? I'm guessing that's all. Okay, orders eligible for deduction. Look, generally, I would say, look, if you've got the app on, Hikaru, if you've got the app on and you're looking for jobs and there's some travel in between jobs, then yes, I would say absolutely. You should be able to claim that as a tax deduction. If I delivered, so this one's anonymous. If I delivered on multiple apps and was an employer as well, do I file a separate tax return? So the short, we do get a lot of those questions. So the short answer is no. So it's all on the one tax return. You include all your income from your employer and all your income from all your contracts. So it's just one tax return and you include all your income and expenses for the year. That's it. That's as simple as I can answer that. Okay. What if I don't have a logbook for how many? This one's anonymous again. For how many kilometers I stopped dashing for a few months, but I still do it sometimes. I don't have a logbook. Okay, sorry. What if I don't have a logbook for how many kilometers I stopped dashing for a few months, but I still do it sometimes? So then, yeah, then it's if you don't have a logbook, the other method that you can use is the cents per kilometer method, right? And that just requires keeping some track of your kilometers, and you can claim a set rate. So it's not as tedious. So you do have that option. I sold, this one's from Anonymous. I sold my vehicle a few months ago, drive at least 2,000 kilometers dashing. Can I claim? If yes, how? So, yes, you can. And provided if you haven't done a logbook or anything like that, you could claim the cents per kilometer based on that motor vehicle. It'd just be simple 2,000 kilometers times 78 cents. But depending on, again, I don't know your situation, how much you've earned. Maybe the logbook method may have been something that you could have used, but it sounds like you've already, you haven't recorded anything. So probably the easiest method was probably use the cents per kilometer method in that case. Okay. I think that's that one. We've answered that one. Does DoorDash income include GST? I like this question. So someone, I think it's Zareen. If I can claim the $179 fee as deductible, is a discount code necessary? Well, Zareen, we feel free to pay the 179. We don't mind on our side. I guess it's just I think what a lot of people don't forget is for every when we say deduction, you're only getting a certain percentage of that deduction back, right? So if I spend $100, I average I get from the taxman or the tax office, I would get 30% of for every dollar, right? So you're not getting 179 as a refund, as an example, but you're getting a percentage back. So, but yes, feel free to pay the higher amount. We're not going to complain, trust me. uh, okay, so Jigmare, wondering if all deliveries are taxed. Yeah, so Jigme, unfortunately, yeah, it doesn't matter what. I know some people have just earned a small amount of income. Unfortunately, all income is you need to lodge a tax return. So it's just something compulsory. The ATO have just made that compulsory. So yeah, unfortunately, even if it's low income or not much income at all, you still need to lodge some sort of tax return. Um, so, Havuvi, do I need to register with my bank account as personal? I think I answered that one. I did. Sorry, I'm just reading these. Only been only been doing dashing for 2 months. Do I need to worry about lodging tax returns, or can I get away with lodging it? So it depends. Again, it depends on your situation. Generally speaking, yes, you do. I don't know whether you got any other employee income as well, but you can come reach out to us with our support email if you need some further clarification on that. Okay, so. I'm just keeping also just track of time as well. Okay. Okay, so this one's anonymous. Can I join TaxLeopard now and respectively enter my transactions on the app? Yes, that's the short answer. I'm just going to move through a few of these a little bit quicker. I work for a foreign company from here and I pay tax in the country too. Will TaxLeopard help in my case also in that case? Will there be any additional fees? So my suggestion is it sounds like you will need to lodge a tax return. Reach out to us. It's from Anonymous. So I'm not sure who it's from. But yeah, reach out to us. No, they're not uh, it should be relatively straightforward. If you're just doing some dashing and you're an employee, we can sort that out for you. No, there won't be any additional fees. So, okay, Natasha, regarding vehicles, is it worth having them private or business registered? Good question. Generally, when you're purchasing a car, they may ask you whether it's for business or depending if you're getting it from a dealer or something like that. Look, it's good to have, but at the end of the day, the ATO is not going to be strict on that. They're going to look at your substantiation. Do you have a logbook? How have you sort of claimed all that stuff? And are you using it for business purposes as well? So hopefully that makes sense, Natasha. So short answer is no, you doesn't have to be business registered, but it's good to have that if you are purchasing it from a dealer, especially. Havuvi, I use personal car for dashing, and when not dashing as personal, does not insurance as a sorry, I'm just trying to understand this one. Uh, okay, if it's I'm just understanding, so is it for insurance questions? So I'm trying to understand it. It's but yes, effectively, if I'm just going to answer like with insurance, car insurance, if you're using the vehicle, whatever you're using, generally speaking, it is tax deductible, right? So yes, if you're using that whatever it is, whatever you're using to do your DoorDash deliveries, yes, it is tax deductible. The insurance, sorry. Um, okay. I'm not sure how many more there are. Okay, I've got my logbook by news agents. Okay, so this is from Renee. Got her logbook by a news agent. I took screenshots of my odometer during shifts. I've not filled the logbook in. Yes, have lots of work to do. Do I record the odometer for the shifts? Or do I need to fill in personal runs as well? Yeah, so to answer your question there, you need to do both personal and business related, right? Because the idea is you're trying to gather how much you're using your motor vehicle for business purposes. So if you're just recording all your business trips, it's going to be 100% business. But the whole purpose is to how much are you going to record your business and personal. Maybe I'm just going to do a few more because we have gone over a little bit. So. Okay, I don't quite understand how many incomes should be taxed. I don't quite understand that from Amar. Reach out to us as a separate question, maybe in a bit more detail, but um, his personal car. So, Havuvi, you seem to be a popular one. I use personal car for dashing and then not dashing as personal insurance as commercial. And oh no, I think I've answered that. Yes, so again, it's that insurance. It'll be, I think you're saying there, you're using it for personal as well. Can you claim 50%? Yes, yes, you can, based on your percentage. Doesn't matter if I use multiple cars for in terms of deductions. Adrian, yes. So if you're using some multiple vehicles, you do if you're going to claim, depending on what you're trying to claim, you do need to keep a logbook for each vehicle. And then you can get a better understanding. And then you've got to have, so if you're using, say, two motor vehicles, you've got to have two separate logbooks. Then you can claim all the expenses. So yes, you can multiple. We get that all the time, especially with a lot of Uber drivers. They tend to use multiple cars as well. So okay, I can see there are three. So this is from Anonymous. I can see there are three kinds of premium in the. This is the TaxLeopard app. Personal, Essential, and Pro. I got TaxLeopard Premium. So Essentials is 109 or 110 per year. So feel free to reach out to us. But yes, so the Essential plan is 110 per year. But if you want an accountant all year round, where you can ask as many questions as you want, and they can also help minimize your tax even more throughout the year, then you've got the Pro plan. So, but feel free to reach out to us as well. I think we're running out of time. I'm going to, okay, so how many? Okay, so I'm not sure if it's, so a few more. I'm just going to finish here. So I've got, I'm not sure if it's Jean or I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. Are there any benefits of buying a car through an ABN? So it's a tough question to answer, but yes, sometimes the dealer might give you a little bit of a better deal. But look, the main thing is, um, uh, it's probably the wrong question to ask. It should be just like, okay, if I buy this, what sort of deductions can I claim against my income, right, as a dasher, and how do I maximize that? So, buying it through an ABN is generally not the issue. It's how do I utilize that to claim that and get the maximum benefit out of it. So, hopefully, all right. So just. Um, okay. So what happens? Okay, so last question. I'm going to finish with this one. Um, is car rego fees tax deductible? Yes, it is. So all right, so that's I'm gonna no, thanks guys. I just thought, yeah, thank you, Adrian. Thank you for your time. I do appreciate it. Was I've just noticed that we have gone being mindful, we have gone out, but that's good to see that people are asking questions. So thank you everyone for joining us. Again, we'll reach out after this, how you'll have a copy of this. But look, we've got all your emails and all your contact details. Feel free to also, once you sign up to TaxLeopard, that's the website, taxleopard.com.au. If you do have any questions, reach out to support@taxleopard.com.au. But once you do sign up for TaxLeopard, we do also have an in-app ticketing system. Again, thanks for your time, guys. Appreciate. Sorry, we've gone a little bit over, but lovely. Hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for joining us. Cheers.